The auto update feature has been available in WordPress since around version 5.6, and I've had several people ask me whether it's okay for them to use this feature to automatically update the plugins. My answer for this is going to be that it depends on your situation, and I'm going to share with you how I approach things, and hopefully you can actually use that to make a decision on your own. Hi, this is Marlon, and you're watching Online Systems Check, a video series that I'm doing to cover tools and strategies for your website and your online content so you can grow your business around your knowledge and expertise. If you want to find out more about me, you can head over to my website, marlonmcpherson.com. As you know, it's really important to keep your website updated with the software in order to prevent things like hacking or malware entering your website, and in order for the website to keep functioning correctly. I've always recommended that you handle updates yourself as opposed to setting it to auto update. And I still recommend this to an extent. Doing it this way means that you can take a systematic approach by backing up the website first and then cautiously updating the plugins, whether it's an individual plugin or a set of plugins, while testing the website. This allows you to catch any issues that may break your site during the update process, and you'll be able to troubleshoot and recover more quickly if things go wrong. Now, I know it can be a real pain to update your website yourself, especially when you have lots of plugins and there might be updates coming out pretty much every day, depending on which plugins you have. And I'd normally recommend going in at least once a week to do a set of updates. But again, you're busy and it can be hard to keep up. So, is auto updating really the answer? Well, to decide, let's look at 3 points. The first point to consider is, are your plugins from a reputable and reliable developer? Well, here's the thing. There are hundreds of plugins available on the WordPress repository, as well as online in general, and not all of them are equal in terms of their quality, the way they've been put together, as well as the support behind them. So what I recommend is that you vet the plugins that you put on your website before you put them on the website. Make sure that you check for reviews, make sure that they are not causing issues ongoing, make sure that they're being updated, see when they were last updated. Personally, I tend to go for paid plugins because I know that the developers have skin in the game to make sure that the plugin is being coded to the highest standard possible so that they don't have issues that people are going to come back to them and complain about. Of course, you're paying money to these developers, so they have an incentive to keep going and making sure that their customers are happy and they're putting out good updates in terms of the things they add feature-wise, as well as the patches that they put out. And they have an incentive to also make sure they put out regular updates to fix bugs. And if things were ever to go wrong, they're always there as well to provide you with support. So look at all these aspects when it comes to your plugins. I know it can be really tempting to go with all the free plugins that you see available to you, but I would caution you to make sure that even if you go for a free plugin, I tend to go for the ones that have a paid version of the same plugin, meaning that the company has a freemium model. They give you a free limited version of the plugin. So some of the features are disabled or you might not have them inside the free version, but they want you to upgrade. So they'll give you the best experience they can for free, and also look after the free plugin just as good or as well as they would their paid version, so that you can actually see the value in what they're offering and decide to upgrade. So the fact is, if you have a free plugin, it's going to operate and be looked after properly as things go on. The second thing to consider with auto updating is whether or not you know how to troubleshoot a plugin conflict. What's a plugin conflict? A plugin conflict is where multiple plugins or at least two plugins are causing issues with each other. So they're not actually compatible together on the same website because the code, the way it's written, it's just not working in the back end of it. Now, this is not the fault of any specific plugin. It could be perfectly fine that they've coded each plugin correctly, but just the fact that they're sharing the same environment and they might be using some of the same parts of WordPress to access certain things and function properly. It just happens that the code tends to contradict each other, or one might overpower the other. So being able to narrow down which plugin is causing conflicts is really important, and you need to understand that process. Typically, the process looks like this, right? If you have access to the back end of your website, you want to go in and disable all your plugins. I know it's not ideal, but it's something that's necessary to kind of know which one is the issue. So you would turn off all the plugins by going into your plugins settings and deactivate all of them. Then you activate them one by one and check if the problem exists. Now, the problem can be an issue where there's an error that comes up on your page, or your page might not look correct, or just the functionality of whatever the plugin is supposed to do isn't working. So then you want to disable and then re-enable them one by one to see which one, when you turn them on, which one actually fixes the problem or causes the problem even. Because if the problem goes away when you turn off all the plugins, then you know it's definitely a plugin issue, a plugin conflict, which is very, very common. So you need to know how to handle these things. And that is the simple way to do it if you have access to the admin area of WordPress. If you don't have access, if you can't log into the website, you need to have access to the host and to the file system so you can go in and access the folder that your plugins are installed in and just rename that folder, and it will tell you straight away if it's a plugin issue, and then you can rename plugins and bring them back in one by one. That takes a longer time and it's a little bit more technical, so you may probably need help with that. So knowing how to get help with that as well. Sometimes your host might be able to help you, but that's not a guarantee because they're not necessarily going to get into the weeds of helping you with the issues you have on your website because they're just a host. You might need to have somebody that's a developer or someone that's managing that site that can go in and help you. The third thing to consider is whether or not you have automated backups offsite that you can actually use to recover the website if something was to go wrong. So there are several ways you can back up your website. The plugin that I mainly use is Updraft Plus. I use them on client sites, I use them on my sites, and it works reliably. I can connect to my offline storage, which is Amazon S3. You can also use Google Drive, Dropbox, and store the files off your hosting, because if something goes wrong with the hosting, you want to be able to still access those files elsewhere. So having a plugin like that is really going to help you recover. If something was to go wrong after an update, you want to make sure that you have some backups, have at least 2 backups or versions of a backup to go back to. And the restoration process is going to be straightforward if you have access to the website in terms of logging in. So you just simply log in, go to the most recent backup or the previous backup that you want to restore to or restore from, and then just click a button and it should put it back to that previous state before the updates happened, hopefully. That being said, you need to make sure that you're scheduling backups on a regular basis. So at least have your full backups being done once a week or a couple of times a week. And if you want to do incremental backups or partial backups like of your database, you could do that daily because those don't take up a large amount of space. That's okay if you can get into the website, but again, if you can't access the website due to an error, plugin going wrong or something like that, you don't know what's happening. So you need to know how to then restore the site from the backups that you have externally that you can access. And that is a bit more involved, a lot more involved, I would say. And you probably would need help with this. You need access to your hosting. The process involves typically setting up a new installation of WordPress on the hosting basically. And then you want to install your backup plugin and then import those backup files and restore the site that way. But it would involve you reinstalling WordPress if you cannot access the files or access the backend of WordPress to do the one-click restoration. Now, if you've got all the things covered above, I would say yes, it's okay to go ahead and auto-update your plugins as well as WordPress, but you'll still need to check the website on a regular basis just to make sure that everything's okay and have a contingency plan in place should anything go wrong. I personally have some plugins on auto update, but I still have some that I prefer to update manually so I can go in and check on things and make sure that everything's working okay, because these are mission critical plugins or they're ones that I just feel like I need to pay closer attention to. If you're looking for help to manage your website, my business helps clients with that. go ahead and check the link in the description and get in touch if you're interested. Also, if you got any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll get back to you. In the meantime, go ahead and check out another of my videos. Speak soon.